I gotta say, this was the most insane thing ever, and I will never trust any girl ever again, especially from my old high school. But I gotta say, the reason this story is so intense is because, let's just say, this girl was super obsessed with me to the point where I didn't think this was even real. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but super embarrassing story. And it all starts off back in my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I was just an average kid. I was normal, I played video games and kind of just did the same old. I don't know, for all those people out there in grade 9, you kind of know what I'm talking about. In my grade 9 year, I gotta say, one thing was for sure, entering high school was a whole new beginning. I didn't really understand how intense high school would be until definitely this story came around. But this whole story starts off in my grade 9 year, and I remember it was one day when I was walking down the school hallway. I was walking down the hallway just by myself. It was in the morning, so not many people were around the school walking around. But as for me, well, I got there early because my dad always dropped me off 20 minutes early just to make sure I had time to get all my books from my locker and all that kind of stuff. So as I'm walking down this hallway with my backpack on, out of nowhere, I ended up getting that weird tingly feeling and that kind of creepy feeling behind my back. Now, if you guys don't know what this feeling is, it's basically the feeling of being watched. I felt like I was being watched in some sort of weird way. It was super intense, and it got to the point where my stomach started to kind of hurl because I didn't know who was staring at me. And the more I looked around, it felt like no one was staring at me until I turned the other way, and that's when I saw that there was a girl that I knew. Now, I didn't think too much of it because this girl was, way out of my league, but we'll get more into that later. But for sure, I ended up basically turning away and I kept walking. The school day goes on, and still I had this intense feeling the entire day. But it wasn't until I got home that Thursday when I realized things were really weird, because I remember I sat down on my gaming setup and I turned on my Xbox and I was about to play Call of Duty with the boys. But then I ended up looking at my phone and my phone vibrated. I ended up picking up my phone, looking at it, and I realized I got a message request from the hot girl that was at my school that was in grade 12. Now, let me tell you some details about this girl. This girl was known as one of the hottest girls in our school. She was in the cheer team. She was really attractive. She was blonde, blue eyes, and a big cherries. We gotta say it the appropriate way, but you guys know what I'm talking about. This girl was super attractive, and I didn't think I had even a sliver of chance to pulling her. But the fact that she sent me a message on Instagram was super out of nowhere. By the way, follow me on Instagram if you guys haven't already. Going on from there, I ended up seeing this and I'm like, why'd she DM me? So I ended up opening the message and I ended up seeing it was a photo, but it wasn't any ordinary photo. It was a photo of me in the hallway that morning. I ended up messaging her back being like, why'd you take this photo? Oh, nothing. Just, thought you were cute. Okay. And when she sent me that DM, I thought this was a prank. I thought it was like a total joke and this girl was totally messing around with me just to make me feel like some sort of joke. Because like I said, in grade 9, I wasn't really like a stunner. I wasn't attractive. At least in my mind, I wasn't. I don't know. Here, editor, pop a photo of screen of what I looked like back then. Yeah, honestly, I wasn't anything special, at least in my mind compared to now. But when I saw this, I felt really weird. And once again, I just ignored it. I ignored the DM. If anything, I almost deleted it, but I didn't just in case because the account was real and everything was real and it was actually her account. But once again, I thought it was some sort of prank. So when I ignored it, I ended up going to bed that night, sleeping peacefully, thinking, you know what? I just got away from a really bad prank that could have ended my high school career. Yes, people in high school have careers, okay? It's a reputation, there's a food chain, or a popularity chain, I should say, but I'll get more into that in another video. Going on from there, I remember the next day when I ended up going to the school early once again, I ended up walking down the hallway. And as I'm walking down the hallway to my locker, I go up to my locker and I start opening it. But once again, I get that weird chill that someone was staring at me. Except this time, when I turned around, I realized that the grade 12 girl that hit me up in DMs literally the night before, and me thinking it was a prank, she walks up to me and says, "Do you usually ignore people when they message you?" No, I just didn't expect you to be here. What are you doing here? We go to the same school, silly. Oh, yeah, no, I knew that. I was just, wondering, what you up to. Oh, nothing. Just don't ignore me. Oh, okay, I won't, but what's up? So, how's your day so far? Well, I mean, it just started, and to be honest, I was just about to get my books for science class. What are you doing? The reason I asked what was going on was because this girl was putting on the thickest layer of red lipstick I've ever seen. And when I asked her, she ended up looking at me being like, oh, don't worry about it. And then she ends up kissing my locker, leaving her lipstick stains on there. At that moment, I didn't know what to do. I just froze because, well, once again, in grade 9, I didn't really know what I was doing in general. So I ended up being in major shock and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna head out. Okay, well, like I said, don't ignore me. And she ends up walking away. Now, this moment, I ended up grabbing my phone. I ended up instantly DMing her back and I said, yo, just messaging you just to make sure you feel like I'm not ignoring you. I thought it was like a cool, smooth way because at this point, I actually thought this girl had the hots for me. And honestly, I wasn't wrong to believe that because this girl ended up sending me a kissing emoji right after I said that to her. Now, I thought things were going too well. I'm gonna be honest. I thought this was like, you know, my high school dreams coming true. Like, think about it. If I got with the hottest grade 12 girl in my high school, I would be going up the popularity chain like no tomorrow. So I ended up going on with the school day, being super excited, but at the same time keeping it to myself because I didn't really want the secret to be let out until I knew things were gonna get official. But then lunchtime comes around and I end up walking with my buddies, the boys that I play Call of Duty with all the time every night before I go to bed, and we were just walking down the school hallway. As we're walking down the hallway at lunch, I remember I ended up walking past this girl and her cheer team, and you can tell 100% that this girl was checking me out. Like, no joke, she was looking at me top down as I'm walking past her. And it got to the point where my buddy even noticed it, and he looks at me and he's like, yo, bro, did you not see that girl checking you out? Huh? Oh, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. Bubba, there's no way. Like, dude, she was staring at you like crazy. Nah, I think you're getting it twisted, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Bro, nah, she's definitely into you. That's insane. Like, how? First off, ouch is what I thought in my mind, but at the same time, once again, I wanted to keep it to myself till things were more official. But let's just say things got really intense afterwards because I remember when the bell rang and I went to my next class, I ended up sitting down and I ended up opening my phone and she ended up messaging me saying, you looked really cute in the hallway today. And I replied back saying, oh yeah, you know, I guess this is my, you know, average outfit. You're so funny is what she replies back. And me and her start flirting back and forth until out of nowhere, this girl ends up sending me a message saying, hey, like, we should meet up. Okay. Where? Oh, let's go to the abandoned staircase. Trust me, no one will see us there. When she said this to me, I was confused because I'm like, wait, the abandoned staircase? And there was a rumor in my old school where basically there was the abandoned staircase that students would go to do the devil's tango. So when I saw this, I'm like, yo, there is no way. But she kept messaging me, telling me to show up. So I ended up putting my hand up in class and I ended up asking my teacher if I could go to the bathroom. When in reality, I knew I wasn't going to go to the bathroom. And when I walked through the door of the abandoned staircase, I ended up seeing her, but she ended up grabbing my hoodie right away and pushes me up against the wall. Reminder, in grade 9, I wasn't that tall. I think I was like maybe like 5'4", if anything, maybe 5'5" if I'm being generous to myself. And if I'm wearing, you know, Timberlands or something. But in Converse, I was like 5'4", okay? So this girl was like, I want to say 5'10". So she was way taller than me. But she ended up pushing me up against the wall and we ended up doing the devil's tango. At this moment, I felt like this was like a dream come true. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I felt like I was like a main character in a movie. Like, it just didn't make sense how this was all happening, especially to me, of all people in my high school. Because there was a way more attractive people than me. But after we were finished, I remember I looked at her and me questioning everything that was going on. I look at her and said, so, I was just wondering, do you want to maybe go for like a dinner or something? She looks at me and says, you're funny. And she ends up grabbing her phone and texting a group chat. At this moment, I was really confused, but like, you know, I didn't want to ask too many questions because I didn't want to seem, you know, not cool, if that makes any sense. So as I just, you know, play it off as if nothing happened, we leave the abandoned staircase and I head over to my next class. And I head over back to class that was literally about to end. Did I get in trouble? No, because I was passing that class anyway. My teacher didn't really care that I left. But let's just say when the bell rang, I remember everyone started walking down the hallways and stuff. And me, I'm passing by the gymnasium for my next class. But as I'm walking over, I end up realizing I heard her voice going through a vent that was connected to the girls' locker room. Now, there was a vent that you could hear everything that the girls' locker room was saying. This vent is very important, by the way, for future stories. So I advise you remember it because I have a lot of memories of me eavesdropping right then and there for all the girls' dirty secrets. That sounds really bad and really creepy, but trust me, it was common throughout my high school. I remember from there, I ended up sitting there and just listening in on what this girl was talking about. And word for word, this girl in the locker room says, okay, well, I did the dare and I finally got with the grade 9. Okay, happy now? Oh my God, was he any good? No, I'd rather sleep with a dead fish. At that moment, I remember I kind of just sat there being like, wow. So the only reason this girl was even interested in me in the first place was for a dare. I gotta say, my heart was definitely broken that day. Well, not really, because I didn't really know her. Still, at the end of the day, day, it just sucked what she did. And overall, I think it's kind of one of the reasons why I ended up going on a Devil's Tango spree, because getting hurt by a woman that was in my grade 12 year, and that, you know, I was in my grade 9 year, and all this stuff, and I don't know, it was just a roller coaster of emotions happening right then and there. From that day forth, I promised myself to do the Devil's Tango with every girl I can think of. And yeah, I guess that's where really Bubba was born. But at the same time, everyone's different. But if you guys enjoyed this story and want to watch more, click on one of the videos on screen right now. Fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.